let's do this Access Lab 4. So this is the last major Access Lab. The Access Lab 5 is really simple. So I may or may not do a video on it. I'll let you know soon. But I think I'm going to make it due right after spring break. So it's not like I don't want you to have to work on spring break. You should be able to finish it before spring break fairly easily. You'll have your midterm. I made an announcement about it. Your midterm opens at 9 a.m. on Friday, the 5th of March. And you'll have like that whole weekend through Monday to take it. I might go ahead. Let's see, the 1st of March. I'll assign. You know what? I'll assign Lab 5. This is what I'll do. I'll assign Access Lab 5 on the 1st. You'll have your exam that week. So your things that you'll need to do that week are that Lab 5. It's just the capstone to the Access stuff. And again, it's just a finishing touch. It's not like really involved or anything. So you'll do that. I'll make it due. Let's see. I'll make it due on the 8th. That's what I'll do. And then I'll sign the next stuff. We'll see how that works out. I don't want you to work over spring break though. But for now, Lab 5 will be due roughly before the midterm exam. I mean, the end of it. So like you can take your midterm exam, and then the grades are due on the 12th. So I need to turn in the midterm grades, and then I want to base those on you guys taking the midterm exam. And then like we'll take a break for spring break, and then we might just come back and start a new chapter on the 22nd. I'll let you know. That's not set in stone, but I should do this for like every semester and not just for your semester. So I'll have to remake this video because like if I do this in the future, it might be totally different. But anyway, you get the idea. All right, so this exam is going to be based like all the rest. These are all based on the previous exam. Access Lab 4 is based on previous labs, so this will be based on Lab 3. I have a Lab 3, or so it says. I hope this one's correct. I don't know if this is the one I did last time I made the video, or if this is from last semester. I hope this is good enough to complete this lab. We'll see. I checked these links. These should all be still up to date. There's a few links. I think that I checked every link. Let me know if any links are broken, but these links that are about the GCF Learn Free, that they're problematic, but these links I think worked, so I left them in. You don't necessarily need them. They're just like supplemental. So but like I checked every link to make sure it still worked. There were some GFL whatever Learn Free that didn't still work, so I took them out. They either didn't work or they like took forever to load. So I'm not gonna have you guys click on those. All right, so this lab's about creating and using forms. So forms are used typically for input. So the people who are interacting with your database, this is just for access too. Like this is a very access-centric lab. It's not so much generic relational database stuff. This is more of like, hey, this is how you would do it at Access. So if you were doing this with other DBMSs, things might be done differently, but it's just to give you a taste of how the end users might interact with your Access database. So Access is meant to be a database management system that's relational, that adds some bells and whistles. So it's like it's an all-in-one kind of thing. It's like you have Access set up at your small business, and people who know how to use Access as is. In other words, you're not adding in other third-party application systems, frameworks in order to talk to the underlying Access database. It's all just Access. So Access provides these forms because your end users might not like care about how a database works. They just want to enter the data, right? So the forms are there for that. And it's likewise with the reports. That's the other end of it. If they just want to like see like who are the customers who are late on their payments, there's a report for that. Maybe that's built into Access. If you had like Oracle or MySQL or SQL Server or something as the underlying backend for your data, you might have different things on top of it, like a Windows program written in .NET with C# or something as a front end to that, or you might have ASP.NET pages, or maybe something with PHP. You'd have all kinds of different front ends to that underlying back end of the actual database. But Access is meant to be it's meant to be like an all-in-one kind of thing. So this chapter, this lab exercise is more about like learning that front end stuff, along with parameter queries. So parameter queries are where you would just type in what's a parameter? How would I describe this? Let's see. If you wanted, you might have a standard query like, tell me all the customers who owe X amount, and you could put different amounts in each time for that same query. So the thing is, you would have a place to input the number, like more than $100, more than $200, more than $500, etc. That's where the parameters come in. Show me all my customers who are over the age of 30, and next time you type in 40, next time you type in 50, that's a parameter query. So the query is almost exactly the same, except for that one criterion value could change through input. So it's going to tell you how to do parameter queries, how to create forms, how to create reports, and then this thing on mailing labels, which I don't know how important that is, honestly, but it's in the lab. We'll do it. I should just cut it out, shouldn't I? But I won't. We'll do it. So again, this is based on Access Lab 3. This is what I've got. I hope this is correct. If it's not, I'll deal with it. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So first thing to do is open the relational database, blah, blah, which I have over here. Then save as lab 4. So I have a lab 4 as well. I'm going to save this. So it must be from a previous semester, because we haven't got to it yet, right? I know I haven't done it this semester. So I changed the name to old, added old to it. So I won't override it, but what is it? CJ Nicholson, I think, is what this would be if I were doing it like you're doing it. I think that's right, _ CJ Nicholson. So HW Tracker Lab 4 _ CJ Nicholson dot blah, 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 blah. And already exists. No, I don't want to replace it. I want to save. No. I want to change it somewhere. Why is it in documents already? It's a good question. I need to go check and see what that is, actually. Looks like I might have the done deal already, so we can always appeal to that if I get cornered in this. So this is for this semester. So you see they have lab 2 here. This is okay. I'll just put it here. This works. Enable content. It should say they do that if it doesn't already. So while completing labs 2 and 3, you created queries that use fixed criteria to produce a subset of rows and the query result set. Just a small etymological vocabulary lesson here. Criteria is plural. Criterion is singular. It's from Greek. So whenever you see phenomenon, phenomena, criterion, criteria, that's singular and plural. So if this messes it up, it's not me, because I didn't write this lab. I tweaked it. I edited here and there. There was one place where I changed the criterion to criteria. Some people use criterion as plural. It's exactly the opposite. The ON is the singular and the is the plural. Anyway. So the fixed criteria to produce subset of rows in the query result set. So during our study, I'm reading to you now, I realize, but I need to see what's going on as well. During our study of chapter 3, we learned that adding these criteria, I don't know if I corrected that or if it was already correct, but these criteria allows us to perform the relational operation known as selection. So selection, this is just a review. I've said this, I try to point these out as I go, I think, but selection is the where part. So selection is the subset of rows or records you get from a query. If you add a where clause that has some criterion or criteria that it bases those results on, then that's selecting different subsets of records from the entire table. So if you think of the table, all the rows in the table, all the records in the table, again, these are the same thing. A row is a record. if you think of all of them as being a set, then you can get a subset, which subsets, strictly speaking, in set theory can include the whole set. So a set is a subset of itself by definition of how set theory works. So like you can get all the items back if you don't add aware, but if you do add aware, you might just get a what's called a proper subset, which is an actual one element at least is missing from the entire set. It gets complicated, but it's the C and the C underline for contains. If anybody knows set theory, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't need to know set theory, I recommend checking it out. If you're in IT or programming, in some ways, set theory and that kind of math, not meth, definitely not meth. Maybe meth can help sometimes if you're late on a project. I don't know, but I'm just kidding. But that kind of math, discrete math, and I'm not talking about discrete. There's EET. They're both etymologically the same root, but EET is like, not being too obvious about how you approach social situations. Discrete means it's like, behind closed doors or whatever. That's EET. ETE, discrete, has to do with math where you have clear boundaries between, I guess, quantities. How do I want to explain this? Different sets, quantities. As opposed to like calculus, which is continuous. The calculus is all about continuous math, where you have a continuum. You're trying to figure out like the area under a curve. That's continuous math. Discrete math is about individual categories and where things fit in the categories, like set theory and stuff. And combinatorics, like it's hard to explain, but discrete math is more often, I'm going to say, is more often used in computer science and programming in general than continuous math. Though you do have, of course, you do some computations for calculus, obviously, with computers. But computers are finite. They're finite sets of things. You have finite memory, so it lends itself to discrete math. That's a big tangent. But the long and short of that is that set theory. So looking up set theory where this belongs in A and this belongs in B, therefore it belongs in A and B or whatever. That, the intersection, union, all that kind of stuff. That's important kind of math to have some kind of feel for when you're doing anything like in the IT world with machines and computer programming, because that's a discrete world. Anyway, getting back to this. That's selection. So we often perform the same type of selection repeatedly using the slight variation in the original criteria. So again, like the thing where I was saying you do age 20, age 30, age 40, etc. That's a different criterion each time that you're doing your selection on. For example, they're going to give us an example now. I just gave you some, but instead of viewing our hardware by category or just displaying data about the laptops, we might want to see all of the desktops or all the cell phones just listed by themselves. We can do this easily by making a copy of a similar query and just changing the criteria, but a better way to do this is to create a parameter query. So what this means is you could copy and create a whole new hard-coded with no like variable in it for each different time you want to ask the query. Even though most of the queries are the same, you change one little bit about it, and they're all hard-coded though. What this is saying is that you can make one query that has a parameter in it, and then you can just use the parameter. So you don't have to create 3 queries, for example, for 3 different questions, whether it's hardware, laptops, desktops, or cell phones, whatever. All right, so the steps about doing an example of this is to make a copy of your laptop list query and save it using the name hardware by choice of category. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, it doesn't really tell you how to do this from what I saw in the lab. It might say it somewhere else that I missed, but I think the easiest way to do it for me, and again, there might be a better way, but what I did is I went to the query laptop list, I opened it up, and then I went to SQL view, and then so that's right click on the tab and go to SQL view, and I'm just going to take the SQL. So I'm going to copy that, and then I went to create query design. So now I've got 2 added ones, and then make sure you're in SQL view for it as well, and I'm just going to paste in the SQL for the laptop list. So I'm just close that. I don't need it anymore. And then I need to save this as. I haven't got to this part yet, but I'm going to not save as there. save here, and I'm going to give it that name. So the name was, and let's see if this works, hardware by choice of category. I hope it doesn't retain the italics, which I don't need, which I don't think it will, but you never know. There we go. So now we have two queries that are the same, but they have different names. So then learn about this kind of stuff, how to make a parameter query, and then open this in design view. It's already in design view for me, and enter the following prompt in the square brackets into the criteria row under category column. So to view, test it by entering the name of an actual category into the prompt box, save it when you are sure it's working. So let's see if let's parse this and so we understand what it's saying. What we want to do is make it to where under the category column you prompt. So what a prompt is a message to a user that asks them to do something. So that's what this looks like, is that if you put this in square brackets, it's going to say to the user, enter the category you wish to view. And then so the prompt is square into the criteria row. So you got to put this in the criteria row, this prompt, and then test it by entering the name of an actual category into the prompt. So there should be a prompt box. So they'll prompt you with this message right here, and then there'll be somewhere to type in response. So the idea is that you're going to enter in laptop or cell phone or desktop or whatever, and then it just shows you those as the query. So let's see if we can do this. I'll pause while I set it up. All right, so this is what you do. You can just copy this with including the square brackets. The square brackets are not just like telling you, like, enter the thing in between the square brackets. You actually include the square brackets. So copy that and then paste it right here. I don't know if you can see this, but criteria under category, just copy it there and then close this out and save it if it asks you to. Then just double click it to run it, and it comes up with this prompt. So then you can put in something like laptop, and it will show you just the laptops, or you can double click on it, run it again, and put in desktop. Shows you just the desktop. So let's look at what's going on here real quick. I'm going to go to the SQL view. Again, you guys haven't really learned SQL. You will in the second half learn some SQL. But so you're selecting, again, this is projection. It's called select in SQL, but you're projecting the columns you want. So you're getting certain columns. These will always be the same. I'm not going to list them out to you. They're all from the table, the hardware table. And then it's where, this is the selection, where the category is equal to, and then this is an access thing, enter the category you wish to view in square brackets. That will cause access when you run this query to prompt you with that little window where you type in something. Make sure you type in something that matches exactly what one of the categories, like desktop or laptop or whatever. And then it will run the query as if you typed where table hardware category is equal to laptop, is equal to desktop, etc. So that's what's going on there. Fairly straightforward. I mean, access kind of makes it. I don't think it's necessarily intuitive, especially if you already know some SQL. Like, this is weird, but I mean, you have parameter queries in other other frameworks as well. But I just think the whole square brackets thing is kind of counterintuitive, but it's also kind of neat. It's kind of elegant. Did I say that something about access was elegant? I guess I did, but whatever. So what you would do is paste screen captures for two different, so like maybe do laptops and desktops, and that would be enough. So just paste those here. One that shows all desktops, another shows all tablets. Don't be concerned if your list for tablets is empty. Well, probably because we don't have that. I'm just going to answer this. Let's run this again. Probably because we haven't added any. I don't remember adding any tablets. So whatever. If there's no tablets in the database, they're not going to show up. That's probably something we do with forms. Who we'll see. So part B. Is that part B? Part A was just doing that one parameter. I guess it was. Okay. So part B is forms. To complete the tasks in this part of the lab, we need to add some more data to our database. Open the employees table, in design view and add the following fields. Be sure to set appropriate data types, max field sizes, and input masks. So input mask is a way to set up where you're inputting data, whether it's a form or whatever. This is not just an access. This is all kinds of different things where you input data. An input mask will sort of force you to input the data in a certain format. So for example, if it's a phone number or a social security number, it'll make sure the dashes are in the right place and that kind of thing. And it checks and says, this is not a social security number because you added 3 plus 2. Is it 9? I want to say it's 9, but that's not right. 4 and 4, 8? No, it is 9. It's 9 digits, right? So if it's not 10 digits, it's not a phone number. So input masks are a way to filter what you input. Anyway, be sure to set the appropriate data types, max field sizes, and input masks that match the format of the example data. I'm not sure what they mean by that, because if you're just adding data to the database, it should already those things should be set up already. But anyway, what I want to do is pause while I add those things, so you don't have to watch me add them. Then we'll come back. I'm back, but I didn't add them yet. So what I should do is tell you how I'm going to add them so you can add them too, which is part of the lab, right? So double click on TBL employee, and that gives you a data sheet view. And this is where you can just type in the things here. So I think it's not been set up to auto increment, if I remember correctly. So you would have to like hard code in 0, 2, 3 here, etc. Design view and add the file. I'm telling you the wrong thing. I was thinking about adding data. We're not adding records. We're adding fields. So I'm telling you wrong. Let me stop this. I could probably edit this, but I don't worry about editing it. So this is how you add fields. So you would, I didn't tell you what I did. I right click the TBL employee and go to design view. These are the fields we have already, and then we're going to just add these. And it tells you what to add. I'll show you how to do the input mask if they come up. I think we can maybe do that. But in the meantime, I'm just going to add the fields off camera and then talk about it. All right, I'm sort of in the middle of this. I took this comments field description optional. This is just part of, this is to help the person using Access. It's not meant to be anything that influences directly what's going on with the metadata. It's metadata almost is one way to look at it. Technically, I guess it's metadata, but it's really, and it's like a comment in code. So I just transcribed exactly the examples because I think examples are great to go by. You could just say, stores the house number and street and road type or something. Stores the city name, stores the 2-digit postcode. That might actually be better than having an example, but stores the 9-digit extended, what's it called? Zip plus 5 or 4? Is zip plus 4? There's another name for it. Notice I put all caps zip. That's technically how you do it. This is not right in my opinion. ZIP, like it's a word. It's not actually. It's an initialization. It's an acronym. It stands for Zone Improvement Plan. So every letter should be capital in my opinion, but whatever. Phone should be 10 digits and then the office number. And what I did for each one of these, the size, right? 50 for that street address, and then like 30 for the city. Who knows? There might be a long phrase for some cities. So I made it a little bigger. For the postcode, if you're going to actually use postcodes, they are by definition exactly 2 characters. Now for the zip and the social security, these are a little bit more weird. So if I were designing the database, I would do this example right here. I would leave the dash out. The dash can be front end inserted. Same with the dashes and the phone number. So it's 9 digits and 10 digits. And if you notice, I've got 9 digits and 10 digits here. So I might run into a problem because I'm also going to mess with the input mask. And let me show you what I mean. So I definitely know for the postcode, there's probably an input mask. So if you select this data type, and go down here where it says input mask and then click and select. Yeah, I'll save it. I guess I've made some changes since the last time I did this. Whatever. What you'll see is that there are a bunch of preset input masks. I don't recommend like making your own or anything. I just recommend like using what's already there. So let's see if they don't have the 2-digit postal code for the dates. States. I don't see that anywhere. So I guess there's no input mask for that. So I would just leave it at size 2 because you will need exactly every time. It will always be 2. So maybe let's go to next. You can create your own. I'm not going to show you how to create your own right now. Change the input mask because I don't know how to do it actually in Access, but you can use regular expressions and stuff. I'm sure to create your own, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to use the pre-built ones if they exist. So yeah, save it now. So this one is the zip code. Let's see what they have. They actually have the dash in it. Let's see what. Oh, I can see. I see. Here's my question though. Well, do you need to add? Do I need to make this 10, size 10, to include the dash or not? So 379232354. I don't think that's mine, but it's something like that. Okay, so without this, how do you want to store the data? I want to store it like this. This is up to you. You can pick this one if you want, with the symbols in the mask like this or without. I don't see why you would store the symbol because it really is. The only reason that dash is in there is to help the human being chunk the values. It's hard to memorize 9 digits, but it's somewhat easier. And this has been proven doing psychological testing, to memorize 2 chunks of like 5 or 6 at the very most or less. This is why your phone number, you memorize, like the one growing up, I don't have it anymore, so there's no danger in saying this, but 637-3570. It's much easier to memorize 637 and 3570 than it is to memorize 637-3570. I mean, you do sort of like over time, you can run them all together, but when you first learn them, it's easier to chunk them. So this is actually the term they use too. I think if you look up chunking, you'll see what I'm talking about. So the dash is just it's there for the human being. The dash has no meaning in the data. It's just the digits that have meaning. So just store the digits and worry about the chunking at a higher level, not at the deepest level. So I would pick this one, but you're free to pick that one as well. All right, and we'll see how that works when we actually have to enter data. Same thing for this. There's phone numbers built in, I believe. I think these are the only 2 I would really worry about in doing it for this lab. So phone number is definitely going to be built in. I say that, and then there's the top one. Okay, so that's good. So input mask, and you'll notice it's got parentheses. They have no meaning. The parentheses just say, hey, this is an area code, and it's a 3-letter chunk. And then the dash is, again, 3-letter chunk, 3-digit chunk, and then 3-digit prefix chunk, and then I guess is it called the extension? I'm not sure, the local thing or whatever, but the direct word, the exchange is the prefix. I don't know phone technology for sure. It's kind of like going by the wayside over time anyway. But the last 4 digits are after the dash. So I would do the same thing that I did before. Just click next here, and then without the symbols in the mask. But again, you can do it with the symbols in the mask if you want. All right. So that's that. I think just close it at this point when you double click on it. Now, of course, you don't have these addresses. I hate to say it, but I think at some point it's going to ask you to do it's going to ask you to put in a bunch of addresses as data entry, and it's really annoying to do. We'll see. So let's just see what the next thing is. In MS Access, creating forms is as easy as selecting a table or query known as a record source, choosing the Create tab, and selecting form. So we're probably going to create a form for the employees. We'll see. This is not ideal, however, because a very basic unprofessional looking form is created containing all the forms from the record source that are all the same length, and a system designed for non-programmers. Again, this is what I was saying earlier. Access is meant to be like for not really intensive needs as for creating a database. It does that back end stuff, but it also does the front end. It's kind of like the old iMac where everything's contained in one unit. So that's why in a system designed for non-programmers, we want to limit the amount of text data entry that we allow, modify the length of fields. So yeah, you want to control what the users are typing in, so it's more consistent at the lower levels. So yeah, because we do not typically want our users to directly manipulate tables, sure. And we will provide forms for them. So yeah, think of the forms as a filter to force the end users to enter the data in a format, in a structure that we desire. It's easier for us to design around. So number 5, close all open tables and queries. Create a simple form to be used as data entry for the employee table. So like I said, that's probably what's coming next. I'm going to go ahead and start doing this. I'm not going to read all this to you. You can read it on your own. You should have this open next to you. What you should have when you're doing these videos, you should have your Access lab open, and you should have the Word document open, and you can like read along on your own. You can pause the video, come back to see what I'm doing, whatever, but you should read this stuff on your own. I'm reading it a little bit out loud because I have to refresh on what we do in this lab for myself, but it probably eats up more time than it should. So what I'm going to do is pause and refresh myself on what's the next step is, and then kind of show you what to do. All right. So as I go through this, I'll like pause and unpause to show the steps. So for this, what step are we on? Number 5. This is just number 5 in part B. Make sure that the employee table is selected, and then go to create, and then click on form. No, not that. This just is bad clicking on my part. So go to create and then click on form. And it shows you this is kind of like a default form. And I think we're going to probably tweak this to be more user-friendly and pretty and everything. So this is not going to be the end result. But you can see that even if you didn't care about all that stuff, you could get something that had the function, even if it doesn't have the, so to speak, form that you want, like the appearance that you want, very easily in Access. So all right, sorry about it. I'm not going to edit it out, because if I had to edit out the dog every time the dog caused trouble, it would take forever. All right, so for these forms, if you have a relationship, a one-to-many relationship, the subform will be shown somewhere on here. And in this case, that's the hardware. This thing right down here. We need to select this and just delete it. Click like I did, and hit the delete key, and that should do it, but it doesn't. Right click maybe. Oh, how do I delete this? This is so annoying. Well, after pausing, I hit the delete key. Let me see if I undo it, actually. There we go. I don't know if I had the wrong thing selected or what, but when I hit the delete key again, there you go. It worked. Bad interface design. So annoying. So then we're going to make this look prettier, apparently. So modify the size of the text fields so that they more closely match the maximum expected size. To do this, you have to ungroup them from each other. Oh, great. Switch to design view. So to do this, we would switch to design view. So let's see how we just switch to design view. There it is. So you right click on, when in doubt, right click. Right click on the tab, go to design view. And this is the most annoying part of this lab. When you look at stuff like with all the little dots, if you see the little dots, you know you're in like an annoying part as far as like how the design works and everything. That's always annoying in any kind of interface that has to do with how things look. But anyway, so do that. Design view, click on the on one of the fields. One of the fields. So that's one of the fields, the EID. Arrange tab. So that's that menu item at the top. I wouldn't call it a tab. I would call it a menu item, but whatever. So the arrange a menu item, select a layout. And of course, it takes forever to find layout. So I'm going to pause for that. All right, I thought we were selecting layout, but we're clicking on select layout. So it's this thing right here. Select layout, and there it is. So remove layout in the table group. So let's see where that is. That's that. Remove layout, switch back to layout view. So press and drag the right order, increase the text. So okay. Remove layout in the table group, switch back to layout view. That's right click. When in doubt, right click, go to layout view. And then press and drag the right border to increase or decrease the text box width. So I guess it's saying to do this. So this shouldn't be all that big. This is a name. I think I said 50 for the name, so who knows? You should be able to just like type in the number, in my opinion, but whatever. It's just saying, you know, whatever you think is a reasonable size for these. You might have to adjust this later on if you've miscalculated, right? State is a 2-digit. Now here, two character postal code. Again, this is a U.S. Postal Service scheme, right? There is a 2-digit. I keep saying 2-digit, 2-character code for every state that's set by the postal. So it's always exactly 2 characters for all 50 states. I don't actually like this. I guess it's kind of a standard thing to do now, is to use those two characters. I like writing out the name. If I write in a letter or something, I write out the name of the state. I just, maybe not in the address because that's the standard postal address form. But if I'm like writing inside of a document somewhere and I'm like, what state do you live in? I would type out or write out Tennessee. I'm not going to write TN because that's for, in my mind, that's a postcode thing, which means it's used by mail people to process, to deliver mail. So it's something you put on the front of an envelope when you write an address, but it's not something you put anywhere else because it's specifically for that reason. If that purpose is why that postal code exists. And I think it's inelegant to not write out the name of a state in other contexts, but your mileage may vary on that. But in this case, since the data that we're actually entering is the 2-digit, I said it again, 2-character postcode, then I would, make it that big. And then this is 9 digits. This is 10 digits. I would make these the same size because they're approximately the same, and they're just off by 1 digit. And then the office at Pellissippi is probably about that big. So that's just basically that's what all those steps were there to allow us to make this look like, set these text boxes to be like a reasonable size for the data that we're adding. Okay, I don't think this next part was that obvious to find either. I must say it somewhere. If you watch the video, you can probably find it, and I haven't. So, if I did, it was a long time ago. So, form design view. I'm like, where is that? So what I did is I went to over here. I see it says view. It has views. So I clicked on this, and it had a form view, layout view, and design view. I picked design view, which again, this is where we were before. But then you see when you're here, you have these themes. So this is where you pick a theme and then write it down somewhere. Just kind of like look over them. It'll show you kind of how the changes are made. A theme is just, what is a theme? A theme is a combination of style elements that sort of like have somebody's vision of what would be a good combination of style elements for the different things, like the label, where it says, where it says phone, where the user sees phone, what the font and everything for that is, and what the color scheme is. So I think you guys know what a theme is. I'm not going to belabor it. So just pick any random one and write down which one you pick. They should have names. Looks like you can browse for more too. That if you have them on your computer downloaded somewhere. I'm just going to pick like one of the standard ones. Okay, I see. It's a pop. I'm like, where's the name? It's a little pop up. So let's do organic. That's mine. You don't have to pick organic. You can pick something else. All right, the next part C, is to experiment with the property sheet and design, arrange and format tools in the design view to modify the form until it's approximately very close to exactly smiley face. I would never put a smiley face for you. I'm not gonna say who the person who wrote this is. I like this person a lot, but I don't have the same kind of, what's the word, personality in my writing. So I might take this out for the future. Well, I missed this when I reviewed it. Anyway, as shown below, notice I, which is not I, it's somebody else. Notice that I've changed the captions on the text box labels to be more reader friendly, I guess. The labels are also right justified. Right justified means that everything lines up to the right side instead of the left side. I did this in layout view and also refined it using the property sheet. To earn full credit, you must duplicate the layout and label shown in the following screen image. So you have to make it look like this. All right. Do I agree with that? Sure. Here's what I want to say. To earn full credit, you must duplicate the layout and label shown in the following screen image, which is this screen image right here. I want to say, so in this box, I'm going to say this, try to make it look like this as much as possible, but if it's a little off in some way or another, I'm going to give you full credit as long as you make an attempt to make your version look like this. So how do you do this? You're just going to have to drag things around and make them, dragging them around until it sort of looks like whatever, what this is. So let me do that. I was paused for about 10 seconds. So one way to do this is click the things that you want to move. So click the office number, see how it's up on the first line, along with the text field that goes with it. Make sure they're both, like, hold down control. I didn't tell you that part. I just did it. So I click this and then I hold down control and click something else. So both are selected. And now you see how it's got the crosshairs, the arrows cross. Then you should be able to move this as a unit. So I want to move this up here, and it looks, just kind of estimate how far apart they are. And then, okay, the last name and the first name. So the name, so here's what it should be. It should be name right here, and then you would have the first name and the last name as two different boxes. So I'm just going to select this first and move it over. I'm going to take the first name and put it up. I'm going to delete the L name label. This is a label. It's not the text box where the actual data goes. It's just the label that identifies that text box. Again, this all comes from the data. So I'm going to change F name to name. That's how I'm going to handle that. And then for the address, I'm going to move this up just a little bit. Again, if you're off a little bit, like how I was right there, that's fine. I'm just going to try to make it look a little prettier. One way to to judge how close you need to be is just see how close I get. I guess so. If it's acceptable to me, then and for me, it's acceptable for you. So this address, what you'll notice is that it looks like it's a couple of lines, maybe, in case you have apartments and stuff. So let's see. Yeah, you can just extend it by, if you grasp this thing right here, you can make that field fatter. And then the last part, notice that the city's not labeled, the state's not labeled, the zip's not labeled, phone is labeled. So this is all address. So you see how it says address there? Then you just move these fields around to the right places. And it's all underneath the header of address. You don't break down the individual components and label them. You just, because people, they expect, this is a convention, right? A convention literally means a coming together. The venere in Latin means to come. Audeste fidelis. That's audeste. That means to go, to be at. I'm in a tangent loop right now in my head. I'm going to say it. That verb's somewhere in that song. I'll come, all you faithful. But anyway, they don't say come, they say audeste. Audeste means to be at. Anyway, you get the idea. This is a standard. This is a convention. So this is a coming. People decided that like an address looks like this, and typically, like on anywhere you type an address or write an address, it's going to be the address. It's going to be the street, the house number, the street, the type of road it is, RD, ST, LN, whatever. And then it's going to be the city, state, zip in this order, sort of in this kind of grouping. And if you have like a suite or something, it would be the second line in the part where this fatter text box. So you can just follow that, and then the phone, just move it up a little bit so it's up here. Let's see, can we do the whole sheet? I don't see a way to do the whole sheet. Oh, here it is. Maybe make it a little skinnier. So you see how mine looks sort of like the one, the right justified. When I said right justified, I just ignored it, but let's see if I can fix that. Select all these labels and see if you can change the justification. Align, it would be align, right? That's not right. Control Z. I don't say Z, by the way. That's really pretentious, but it just kind of came to me. If I align these boxes, it's not the boxes I want to align. I think that's the problem. I want to align the font inside of the box. So let me see how to do that, and I'll show you. All right, it tells you right in the Word document how to do this, but that doesn't mean it's easy to find still. So select all these all these labels using Control again. I didn't say that earlier, I think. These are by default left justified, I think. It says in the lab the property sheet was used to do this, so click property sheet with those selected. And then for those things that are selected, it says selection type, multiple selection. For those things that are selected, you can change. Now, there's all kinds of appearance stuff you can do here. I'm going to say do the minimal necessary for this lab because, in my opinion, this stuff's not important, honestly. I mean, it's good. It is important to know that you can do it and get a taste of how you might go about it. But to me, it's more important that you understand how relational databases work in a logical sort of way, not how you do the bells and whistles to make things look pretty. That's always like the final fine-tuning icing on the cake step. That's not as important. It's more important that you understand the logic behind how a database is designed. So this is kind of why I want to phase out Access, honestly. But then on the other hand, Access is a good tool to learn because of the fact that it's a self-contained solution for like a small database need, I guess. So kind of thinking out loud, in my opinion, on this kind of stuff. But anyway, select it and then go over here where it says text align and just use the drop down and go down to right. And that makes it look a little bit more like this box right here. I'm trying to remember if I had this on the screen when I was talking, because I have two screens this time instead of just one, and because it is a lot easier to refer back and forth between two screens. But yeah, so this was the goal, this was the target, and I think this is close enough, in my opinion. So again, this is the stuff that here, one little change here. We'll actually type out employee ID. Again, when you're looking at all this stuff, make sure that what you're typing is what the user, misspelled employee. Make sure what you're typing for these labels would make sense to whoever's using it, even if they don't understand databases. Right, so this is a form. Again, this is going to be a form that somebody's filling out to enter data. The labels are these things. This is what they're going to see. So they'll know what to type based on what those labels are called. Now, the L name, F name, all this stuff, these are the fields they're typing in. You, as the access designer for this database, need to know that that's the fields that they're going. These are the actual names for the fields. If you go and look at the fields, they'll have these names in the employee table. This just allows you to know that the input you're typing into these boxes is what's destined to go into those fields in the table. So these are going to have the names that you're familiar with, but The labels, this is what the person using this is going to see, and this should make sense to them. So EID, what's EID? I don't know what Eid is. That's like a Muslim holiday, right? But for for the person using it, you need to spell out what it means. It's employee ID. So I hope that makes sense. All right, so reopen your employee data form and add the following. So this is the part where you have to do the data entry, number 6. This is the annoying part. So this is, let's say the form's done now. I don't know if should the form be called? Form header. Hold on, I'm going to cancel this. I think this should be, does it tell you to change this anywhere? I'm just going to leave it that for now. It might ought to say something like employee up here, but we can fix that later if we need to. So close this, ask you to save, say yes, form name. To earn full credit, must have save it. Oh, call it employee data. Okay. Employee data. So that's the form name. I'm going to open this form back up. I want to say this should be employee data 2. I don't remember if it told you to change that somewhere and I missed it, but call this employee data, because again, this is what the employee this is what the end user is going to see. So like TBL employee, what's that? I don't know what that is, but I do know what employee data is. All right, so we open it up, reopen your data form and add the following data for the first 21 employee records. And this is not, I'm not going to make you watch me do this. So use the form to do, so use this to do it. Also add a complete set of data for your employee record. So, you can make fake data. Don't dox yourself unless you want to. And does it all fit? If not, what changes do you make? I guess does it all fit means, did you make the text box is big enough to accommodate like all this, if you write all this stuff out. There's a sweet spot to hit where it's just big enough to like accommodate the longest thing, right? And then no bigger, but I would leave a little bit of buffer room in there and not worry about it. You just don't want them all to be 255 because that's way too long for most of these fields. And one of the concerns you'll see is that there's 5-digit zips for everything except one thing or two things. There's a 9999, which is obviously fake, and 1234 is obviously fake as well. But it's like, so what's the point of that? I don't know, whatever. But you need to be able to accommodate a 9-digit zip. All right, I'm going to pause, add this stuff, and then I'll be with you soon. Actually, I'll do one. I might not do the rest, we'll see, but I'll do one on screen so you see how to do it, right? So you need to see that. I'm definitely not going to make you watch me enter all of them. So it says the first 21, I'm assuming just in order. So Agnes Murphy's first, so employee 001. So I'm going to put in office MC 121, and then the address would be 334 Hillside Drive. I'm going to put exactly the DR like it has instead of, spelling out drive. 37. So you see how this is the input mask coming up to guide you on what you need to type. So if we don't have 9 digits, so we leave those out. And you see the input mask leaves that hanging. So that's kind of annoying to me. And then here's the phone input mask. So 865-555-2222. And then I think you just hit enter and that does it. And then if you want to go to the next record to enter, you would just click down here where it says the little play button. See, it says 1 of 22, 2 of 22, and so on. So you want to enter all the address information for all these. And then when you're done, you're done. So I'm not going to make you watch all that. I might not even do it because I think it's a waste of time for me to do it, but it's not a waste of time for you to do it. So this is number 6, part B. I may or may not have to add more of the data depending on what we do next, just so the results look good or not, but we'll see. All right, I did like 3 of them. I might have to pause later if it comes up where I need to like add some more data for those employees, but I'm not gonna I'm not gonna sit here and type all that in. But you need to. You're the student, so I commiserate with you on that. Because you need to navigate to the 8th record of your employee table. You navigate down here. It'll say 8 of 22, and take a picture of Clint Zumwalt's address and phone number and zip and all that. All right, so we're going to examine the fields of our config table. We added a last updated column to hold the date that the software was last updated on each piece of hardware. Okay. If you don't have this field, add it now. Be sure the data type is set to date time. So let's look and see if mine has it. If it doesn't, I need to add it probably. Oh no, I don't have it. We added last updated column to the... Looks like I didn't do it before. So let me add it. Let me make sure I'm in the right. So it's config for sure. Last. It makes sense that you would do this actually. So for that piece of software on that machine, on that piece of hardware, so for that program on that machine, you would have a last date that you would have updated it. So let's go to design view, add a last updated column. It's going to be a date. Does it say date time? Yeah, date time. Time when the program was last updated on the machine. So what I'm going to type in. We need to change the data type of the SID field to a lookup to look up the value of the software table. And so access won't allow us to do that while the relationship exists. So we have to we have to go to the relationships window and delete the relationship between the config and the software. So first of all, I'm going to do this. I'm going to save this, make sure that new field that I added is there. So let's look and see, make sure it's there. Last updated. It's going to be a date. All right, it's there. I'm going to go to relationships, database tools, relationships, and I'm going to delete. And again, where is it? It's between software and config, I think. So software and config. Click on this little line here and just hit the delete key. And it says, do you want to permanently select? Yeah, we do want to permanently delete it. So we need to change data type. Go to delete it. And then using the lookup wizard, change the design of TBL config so that the SID is a lookup in table software. So make it to where this thing is something that you have a drop-down menu for in this thing. That's what it's talking about. Be sure to check the box for enforcing referential integrity. So in other words, whatever you select to go here has to exist here first. That's referential integrity. Referential integrity is always going to be from the parent to the child. So before you could put the value for the foreign key here, like assigned to, for instance, if you have referential integrity, if you enforce referential integrity, then in this case, the employee has to exist with a primary key here first before you can assign that hardware, that machine, to that employee. If that employee does not exist in the employee table first, you cannot assign it to that employee. That's enforcing referential integrity. On the other hand, if you try to delete this hardware, like there's like a Mac somewhere, it's one of the rows in the hardware table, and it's assigned to Joe Bob. And if you try to delete that hardware without assigning it to someone else first, before, it's not Joe Bob anymore, assign it to nobody, actually. Let me think about that right. Am I saying that right? No, I'm saying it the wrong way. If you try to delete Joe Bob before you assign Joe Bob to somebody else here, then you will not be allowed. If you enforce referential integrity, you can't delete Joe Bob before you change all of his assigned, until you make sure no machine is assigned to him. Let's put it that way. Because if you do delete Joe Bob and then you go to the hardware table and there's still references to Joe Bob's primary key in the employee table that doesn't exist anymore, then who's it assigned to? It's assigned to a phantom person who doesn't exist anymore. It doesn't allow that if you enforce referential integrity, and that's the importance of. It'll frustrate you sometimes because you want to delete a record, and it'll say can't delete it because of referential integrity constraint. And you're like, damn it, I want to delete this. So what you have to do first is change that value to assign it to somebody. Give the machine to somebody else or to null, because I think hardware allows nulls for the foreign key for assign to. So you could assign it to nobody. It goes back into the pool, kind of. And then you can delete Joe Bob as long as you've reassigned all of his machines to someone else or to nobody. Then you can delete him. That's referential integrity. All right. So again, the reason why I make these videos anyway, because you could follow the instructions probably, and sometimes you get lost, and I guess I help you pass some of those sticking points. Like you can see, I get lost sometimes too. So that's one value of doing this, but the other value is to explain the bigger concepts that you need for like the exams and stuff that are touched on by these labs. So referential integrity is one of those. Referential integrity has to do with primary keys of foreign keys, and that this is the effect of reinforcing referential integrity. Make sure you, again, this is sort of somewhat related to entity integrity. You need to know what that is on the exam too, but it's not quite as striking, I think. Entity integrity just means you have a primary key, basically. It means every record's distinct from every other record. That's entity integrity. But referential integrity is this whole thing about the relationships between tables that have to be enforced in a consistent way. All right, let's get to this lookup. So using the lookup wizard, I don't even know how to do that. I also don't know how to use screencast-o-matic. Cause I kept trying to truncate and come back to here before I did all the mess up, and the prompt is hidden below the bottom of the screen for do you want to truncate here? Yes, and I just had to remember finally. That's why it won't let me continue. Anyway, so we're going to do this lookup table again. You should have at this point, this should be deleted. And then what you need to do is go to the config table. And the thing is, I already set this up and I need to redo it so you see how to do it. So I'm going to pause and undo it and then come back to it. But it's the config table that you want to do. All right, let me see if I can redo this. So using the lookup wizard. So how do you do that? You go to the field that you want to do the lookup wizard for, and you click on this drop down and pick lookup wizard. And then you select the first one. I want to look up the field to get the values from another table or a query. In this case, we want another table. So this is the config table. What we're saying is that we want to make it to where we have a drop-down menu that picks among the software programs from the software table. That's what we're doing here. So click next, pick the table that's involved, and you want to get that software from the software table. So that's the one you pick. And then you want to available fields. Which fields of the software, which fields of table software contain the values you want included in your lookup field? The field you select become columns in your lookup field. So it does say using the lookup wizard. So the SID is looked up in the table software, but the title field is displayed instead of SID. All right, so. I'm trying to decide how to do this. I think there still should be SID. And then you want it to be in order by, no, it has to be title. Pick title here, not SID. So click on this, click on the little caret that moves this over to this field, and then pick title here because you want to alphabetize it by title. And then on this one, just pick the recommended, it doesn't matter. And then what label would you like for your look? So I would just still call this SID actually, and then click this button for enable data integrity and then restrict delete. So I did a whole thing about what cascade delete means. I'm not going to go over it now. It actually kind of makes sense to use cascade for this case, because this will be the case where you delete Microsoft Word because you no longer have the license and you have to uninstall it from all the machines. Cascade delete, what that would do is if you delete Microsoft Word from the software table, it would delete it on all the machines in the database. Now, it wouldn't actually delete it in real life because it's not magic. You'd have to actually do that too to make sure the database reflects properly what's going on. It kind of makes sense to do cascade delete, but I'm going to say be more conservative and do restrict delete. And what that means is it will not let you delete a configuration in the configuration table unless you delete both of the primary keys of the parent tables. Anyway, so finish. Yeah, it must be saved, whatever. So when you're done, it should look like, now you need to do the relationship again. It might actually just say no actually here. If it asks you, double click and see. Now you'll see that it has a drop down menu now for all the software under SID. Look at the relationship table, make sure the relationships are still correct. See, it reformed it. So when you added that lookup table, that actually added this back. And you can see that it does still have to do it properly. It's the foreign key to the SID, because you're not actually looking up the title. You're not doing your join on the title. The title's extra description of what the SID. Microsoft Word is not how you're doing the join. You're doing the join on the SID and the SID, but it's just showing the title. Again, it's showing the title because that makes sense to the person using it. To use the database designer, it makes sense that SID uniquely identifies the program, right? But to the person using it, they don't know what SID is. So anyway. So yeah, that was part D. It's already still there. So close all open tables and forms. Let's get rid of all this. Say yes if it asks you to save, whatever. Create a new form to be used as data entry for software load that will be added for each piece of hardware. So this is going to be how you add in the fact that a program is installed on a machine. So it's going to involve the configuration table, probably. So this time, please use the form wizard. So there's something called the form wizard. We'll need to see how that does. So you go to create, form wizard, form design, blank form wizard. There it is. So irritating. And then we probably need to pick the tables and fields and stuff that are involved in our form. So let's see how that works. This wizard allows you to queries, tables, forms associated. For this exercise, we want to make the table hardware the primary table and the table software the secondary table, whose detail we wish to display in a subform below each piece of hardware. Because table config is used to bridge between the two, it will also need to be included. So in the form wizard, choose table hardware and select the following fields. So table hardware, TBL hardware, and select the following fields. So the fields we select are, get back to where I was, HID category manufacturer, HID category manufacturer, model, there's model, it's already selected. Operating system, I think that's it. Okay, so next, select table config. So there's my, it says next, select. Yeah, we have to go back. So go to the table config, TBL config. What's TBL security? Config. And then pick SID and last updated. So SID, last updated. Finally, select the software table and select publisher, title, and vendor site. And then we do the next button. Leave the default settings to view your data. Okay, default settings. By hardware as a form with a form with subforms. Choose form with subforms. There, that thing right there. Leave that the way it is. Leave the layout as datasheet. So it's datasheet. Okay. Set the form title to hardware configuration. Hardware configuration. And the subform to software load. check to be sure your form has been saved using the name hardware configuration. So just click finish, I think. And so you want to like, this is what it's called. This is saying that hardware ID number 1 has this software on it. That's how to read this. And then on the second piece so this hardware number 2 has this software, and so on. So I'm clicking on the the forward button down at the bottom. All right. Check to be sure all the fields. Yeah, they are. It looks like. If not, change the layout view and drag the right edge of the button. Oh, so it's saying like make it big enough if it's not big enough to show everything. All right, sounds good. All right, number 9 was just like, hey, check it out. What does it look like? So part of it's also changing the theme. So we'll do that. So if you go to views, themes, make it the same theme as the other. I think I used this organic. That was my theme. So there you go. And then you're supposed to like just do what I already did. See how it changes when you use it. Practice navigating from one software asset to another in the subform using the navigation buttons at the bottom of the subform. Let's look at that. So, I guess that would have to be if you had more than one. Let's see. I know the first thing had 3. Yeah, there we go. All right. So, okay, see how that works. Navigate to the hardware asset that is assigned to you. What's assigned to me? Did I assign something to myself? I don't remember. Is it the 20? It seems like it would be the last one, probably. This is 23. It's not been assigned yet. Oh, yeah, that's mine right there. Latitude. Dell laptop, Windows 10. Okay, that's mine. Use the software load subform to add a new piece of software to your hardware's load list. So the point about doing this is that you should be able to use the drop-down menu. That's kind of why you added that. That whole lookup thing is so that you don't have to like remember, I'm going to use PyCharm because that's something I would actually do. Last updated, who knows? There really should be an input here for a calendar to come up. I don't remember. See if you can figure out how to set up the okay, so challenge optional. See if you can figure out how to set up the last updated field in the form such that the date can be picked out of a calendar, a date picker. That's for you to do. I'm not going to do that. It says extra credit. I'll give you extra credit. I'll try to remember to look for it. If I somehow forget it when I grade it, you have to let me know. But if you figure out how to do that, I'll give you the 2 points. Extra credit. Then take a screen capture of your hardware record. So you would take a picture of this when you're doing it, whatever yours is, and paste that in the Word document. Again, for this is in the middle. I really should have done this at the very beginning, but you need to turn in this Word document with the screenshots and stuff, and then you need to also turn in the backup version. You need to turn in the actual database in some form or another. Those are the things you turn in at the end. You will submit some screen captures. This document download a backup copy of your actual database. So yeah, you should submit both. All right, we were at 10. Use the techniques from the previous steps to create a data entry form that can be used to enter all fields for a new piece of hardware. Save the form using the same hardware data to earn full credit. So it says using techniques from previous steps. That means I'm going to let you go here too. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to let you figure out how to do it because you got to be able to figure out how to do some of this on your own. I'm not going to guide you through every step. So, that's kind of the point of this lab too. It showed you the step-by-step how to do a couple of them, and then you do one on your own using what you learned from the first 2. So now we're going to move on to reports. Probably a similar thing here. We'll do a couple of reports and then you do one on your own. And you've got, you can read these things and look at the tutorials or whatever. And I think I checked these. Last time I checked, they worked. Let's see. They still do. I'm reading on the other screen, by the way. You should be reading along. You shouldn't be totally lost, but we're on reports now. And what I said, these links, I checked them before, and they seem to work. So maybe because they're not videos, I don't know. But anyway, you can read those if you want. But we'll do like at least one report here, and then I'll let you cut you loose to do your own. So create reports to display the following information. Use the report wizard to create a simple. So what I'm to do is I'm going to exit out of this first to make sure I start fresh. Use the report wizard to create a simple report named employee contact information that displays employee names. So employee data, right? So add a text box control to the footer of the report, caption total employees. So that's going to be a way to show some aggregate information. All right, so this is already long, and I'm going to do this first number 11. We're going to do that together, and then I'll let you do the rest of the whole lab yourself, which is not a whole lot really, but you learn best by doing. So just not just following what I'm doing, but this should give you enough to go on. So this is the end result we want for this first report. We want something that looks like this. And it has this total employees that tells you the number at the bottom. I know in the previous thing, now this is a report. This is not a form. In the forms, it kind of gives you that at the bottom anyway. But this is a report. This needs to be like something you print out and hand to your boss. So you want to have this like nice little summation at the bottom. So we're going to go through and figure out how to do this. Use the report wizard. So let's go to the report wizard. I'm going to find it first. All right, so typically for a lot of these things, it's create, right? The create menu item, there's going to be a report wizard over here. So that's what you want to click on. So it's going to be called employee contact information. It displays employee names, ID, phone number, so all that stuff. So available field, so we need it for the employee. So we need to pick the employee table. And then the fields that we want are the ID, so EID in this case, the names, so you need all the parts of the name, so the last name and the first name. Employee names, ID, phone number, and office location. Office number is what it's called here. So we can always rearrange the order. We just want to make sure that all these fields are here. So we're not doing anything with the address stuff. It's just the phone numbers and offices. This would be like, hey, I need to call this employee up, right? Or on campus, you would go to their office or whatever. Do you want to add any grouping levels? I don't know. I don't think I had to do that before, so I'm not going to worry about grouping levels. I'm just going to click next. Now, you can sort records by up to 4 fields. And so it does ask us to do this in a certain way. It says sort the output by last name, then first name. So make sure that L name's here first, and then first name, F name. And when in doubt, just ascending is what you want to go by. Some numerical stuff, you want the largest value up top, so you would do descending, but if it doesn't say it otherwise, it does want you to do ascending. So click next on that. Add a text box control to the footer of the report with the caption total employees. Use the property sheet to set the control source for the text box to the aggregate function equals count star that displays the number of employees included in the report. So let's see if we can figure out how to do that. First of all, I think I'm just going to leave this as is. We want the report to be called employee contact information. Employee contact information. Preview the report. I'm not going to modify the design yet. I'm just going to preview it and see if it looks similar to what we need, at least, and then we'll add the count, because we haven't done the count thing yet. So that's what it's supposed to look like. This looks reasonably like that so far, except we need to change some of these titles. See how it's last name, first name, employee ID, phone, and office location instead of office number. well, what's his office number here? Okay, so office number. It says office number there too, so that's fine. So these don't need to change. These need to change to be more human friendly, right? The rest of it looks okay. The colors are a little off, but this might be because it's preview. I don't know. It's like light blue and white in the instead of grayscale. So I'm not gonna worry about that yet. We just need to figure out, and this is part E. I'm going to go up through part E on this. I'm not going to go. I'm not going to do F because those are other reports, F and G and all that. We'll let you do that, but we're already up to sort of E. So, oh yeah. So use the so set the theme, add a text box control to the footer. Let me see how to do that, and then I'll come back to you. All right, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. So I exited out of everything. So I have what we just did. Then if you right click and go to design view, it'll bring up this form. And this is where you want to put the stuff with the footer. So it says add to the footer. We need to add the text box to the footer. So we have to find the text box first. I think this thing up here, that's a button. No, is that a button? Where's the text box? Let me see. I'll have to find one. All right, I'm still looking for it, but did note this is not this is the report footer. The page footer I think is what we want actually, because you can see how the date is at the very bottom. Well, let me show it to you. See how the date's here, and then the page number is somewhere. There it is. Page whatever. Well, that's actually in Word, so never mind. We might just take that out. So here's what we can do, since it doesn't seem like it has a page number thing in the footer. What we'll do, actually, it's either page footer or report footer. Here, trying to decide what. You know what? This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this and put it down here for report footer. So I'm taking the page number thing and putting it in the report footer at the very bottom. So there's page, and for each page there's a footer, and for the whole report there's a footer. We're just going to do it for the report because it doesn't really tell us page. And what I'm going to do is pull both of these fields down here and skip the page footer. And then what I'm going to do, because these are obviously text boxes, I'm just going to appropriate them. So now it's going to be the same. So I'm going to put it at the bottom, and then I'm going to change page, because I'm not going to worry. It doesn't say anything about page, so we're not going to have a page footer anywhere. And if we did have a page footer, obviously, page number in the footer, whatever, a page indicator telling what page you're on. That should be obviously in the page footer if you have it. But I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do, since I don't know how to add a text box off the top of my head, I'm going to steal one that we already have. So I'm just going to add this to the whole report footer, and I want to make this our count. These are little kludges, When in doubt, steal them. The report footer should have total number of employees somewhere, so I might need to add a label. And I don't know how to find the label, so I want to steal one. So I'm going to do Control-C, copy it, and paste a label. This is how I do things a lot when I've had to do things in the past, like at work. Like, where's the stupid? There's somewhere up here, somewhere in here is how to add a label. I'm not going to bother to find it. You can if you want. I think it's okay to show you some of these kludges. That's what I would call it. This is a kludge. So just copy a. What am I trying to say? Copy one. Oh, I'm so lost right now. Where's it? Oh, it's in here. Total. What's the label need to read? Total employees. Okay. Just steal something that's already on the page. Copy it, and then you don't have to figure out how to actually use the application. So total employees equals count. I might need to work with the alignment on this. Text align is right now. I'm going to leave it right and see how that works out. And then the date, I'll just leave that as is. And then don't forget we had to change these. So this should be last name. And again, make sure you know the difference between like the text boxes and the labels. These are the actual fields in the database table, right? Don't change these. Change the things that don't have the white background that have the dots. Those are the actual labels. So you can change those to anything you want. It should make sense, right? It should be the first name for F name, but you get the idea. But don't change these, because those are the fields that they actually refer to, and it needs to know the names of those fields as they are. And so you're not changing the names of the fields. Hope that makes sense. Employee. I hate the way the mouse always gets in the way. Employee ID, I think. The rest of it's the same. And then you're going to have, this is the worst part of all this stuff. I hate this kind of exercise where it's just how things look. You know, I'm no artist or graphic designer, so I just care about the computational stuff. I don't really care about the way it looks, but these should line up is what I'm trying to get at. So make sure they line up. And there's probably ways to make it line up in a more elegant generated way, I guess. But I don't know what it is off the top of my head. So I'm not going to make you have any more of a onus to make sure it looks exactly perfect than I would have. That's actually already okay. So I'm going to quit this, say yes, and then double click to see if it looks reasonable. So total employees 22, Wednesday, February 24th looks good. All this stuff looks good. Office number, employee ID, first name, last name. It's in order by last name. Looks good. And the theme would be the only, I think maybe I didn't change the theme yet to the new theme, the theme that I chose earlier, but does everything else look reasonable? Oh, the phone numbers not in it because I didn't do all the employees. If I did, they would all show up. Later on, you have to do mailing labels. Those probably should be in there too, but you can see the ones that I've got are reasonable. Is it phone, office number, employee ID? Yeah. Looks good to me. 22 employees. Looks good. Yeah. All right. Correct order. Yeah. So if yours looks pretty much like mine, you're fine. I mean, stuff like this, I'm not a stickler for stuff. See how this is a little bit more indented than that? I don't care. I mean, it's fine if it's all the same level over here like this one is. The only other thing, it would be the view, design view, and pick the theme, this theme, maybe. But I guess my theme's different. I don't know why it's blue or gray. I don't care. If yours is the same way, it's fine. If you can figure out how to make it blue, that's fine too. Again, it might depend on the theme you pick. So if you picked one where this is blue, that might be what it looks like. This might just be for my theme. I'm not sure. That's it for this video. We're already how far into this one? Let's see. I can't see it because it's hidden again. But I'm sure it's almost an hour and a half, if not longer. So I'll leave the rest of the lab to you. Don't just not do it. You know, you need to don't wait till the last day to do these labs either. So I know this is Wednesday right now. That's still plenty of time. You don't have to wait till Monday to do this. But I'll let you finish it on your own. And again, lab 5 is really quick. All lab 5 is putting close this, save, close. All lab 5 is that when you double click on it, it'll have a splash page in the beginning. See how this is like nothing right now? You're adding a splash page. That's pretty much all lab 5 is, I think. It's only that one task, maybe like a couple little tasks, but that's it. So you can do lab 5 really quickly. I think I'll go ahead and open it up now, so when people want to get ahead of the game can do it. And I think what I want to try to do is that with the midterm and labs 4 and 5, we'll try to tie up before spring break. Spring break technically still a little bit over 2 weeks away, but with the midterm thrown in the middle of that, it'll seem less than 2 weeks, and then we'll start fresh in the second half of the semester, I guess. It's kind of more than a little bit halfway through, actually. We'll be on pandemic schedule because I don't know if you remember, but we went on spring break and we never came back. So that's what's going on. That's about where we're at, that milestone. So You guys stay healthy, and again, finish this lab on your own. I didn't do every part, and I shouldn't have to. You guys can. I just think I did enough to like answer any questions you have. But if you do have questions still about this lab or anything else, don't forget to send me email or schedule office hours or whatever, what have you. All right, take care, guys. I'm boomering this.